Hi besties, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm loving filming videos in different settings. In summer I used to film a lot of my drama videos outside because I just love being outside. So it's currently 8:25 in the morning and I'm here in the park and it's a beautiful morning. I actually just did a mukbang, like having breakfast and telling you about the fact I'm moving country. So if you want to see that, be linked below. Gorgeous sunrise today. The grass is like all icy and I'm sitting on it. It's just beautiful, and I'm going to be drinking double shot espresso. So we gotta talk. We're gonna have a super chill conversation. Let's contain ourselves, please. Let's, you know, we're gonna be talking about how, in my opinion, and you may disagree, Shane Dawson ruined Ryland Adams' career. Is that a hot take? I don't know. There's no one else here. Allegedly. Oh, I didn't shake this before I drank it. I'm so stupid. Is it still gonna taste good? It's okay. Very stupid for not shaking it. Very foamy. So in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear that Shane Dawson has damaged Ryland Adams, who's his fiance and his little lapdog's career, reputation, both. But the thing is, whenever your reputation as a YouTuber can get a little bit fucked, sometimes it's in your benefit. Let's look at Tana Mojo. People love the controversy. Trisha Paytas, people love the controversy. Ryland Adams, a lot of controversy. No one cares. No one cares. And if people care, it's like people criticizing it. And I don't mean that to sound rude, but come on, bestie to bestie, let's be honest here. Ryland has been in so much drama that he's single-handedly created but also been dragged into, and none of these times has he ever came out good in it because of his own actions. So if we take it back before we had Ryland and Shane together, Ryland was at Clever News, which is kind of like a YouTube channel that had all these like middle-aged people come on and interview celebrity, normally like tween celebrities like Selena Gomez when she started on Disney Channel, or Demi Lovato, or Bridget Mendler. Love Bridget Mendler, by the way. Justice for Bridget Mendler. And it would be them interviewing them, and it would always be really weird because it would be like these like really middle-aged, like old-ass adults. I don't mean that if you're middle-aged, you're old, but like let's look at the material, the people we were being provided with here. It was these like 30-year-olds interviewing like 12-year-olds. Very weird. And so that goes with everyone on, like, there was like so many of these channels, like Clever News at one stage. And so anyway, Ryland was a member of that, and from my knowledge, I knew quite a lot about Ryland just through Clever News, before Shane, before anything, because he was always the one that did these interviews. And in watching them back, he did an awful job at being an interviewer. Like, he was an awful, awful interviewer. So, okay, and that's my criticism. My positive is I'm glad that he has his own YouTube channel right now where he can, like, focus the content on himself. Because in interviewing other people, he very obviously made a lot of these guests very uncomfortable because he was, like, just so, like, much, you know, in your face. And I personally do not like that in an interviewer. You may love it. And he was popular on Clever News, and then Clever News started covering YouTube drama. Ooh, so here's the conflict of opinion where Ryland Adams hates drama channels, but he literally was the drama channel. And he wasn't even making the coin on his own, he was making it through a company. No disrespect, but like, you're now coming for drama channels who are like on their own, doing their own thing, killing it on their own, you know, like they're their own person, but you couldn't even be a drama channel on your own. You had to do it through a company. And furthermore to that, let's like jump forward a second to the SIP podcast, his podcast with someone else, so that he can start drama on the podcast and his co-host doesn't get involved in it, and then whenever there's backlash he can say, but there's two people on this, you know, because he always has to, he never take full accountability or responsibility for anything, which is funny because on the podcast the thumbnail is only him, and if it is a little bit of Lizzie, it's a little bit of Lizzie, who's his co-host. It's first of all, they have a weird dynamic on that podcast, but we'll get to that in a second. Ryland is always the star of the show on the podcast, which is funny because he adds nothing to the podcast, even though it's his podcast. So he did a better job when he was at Clever News, but still, I made my opinions on his job at Clever News very apparent. So then he started dating Shane. Shane started going on Clever News. They started doing collabs. Very awkward to watch these days. And so it was like 2015, I think, at this time, 2014 maybe, 16. And then they started dating, and Ryland got a surge in popularity through Shane Dawson's YouTube channel. Shane was really popular. This was kind of the conspiracies, and then from the conspiracies were, you know, like the documentaries, Here We Kiddin', the long vlogs. Bitch, this video could be 20 minutes and I could call it a documentary. So the conspiracies, documentaries, and Ryland was involved in all of these. Now, Ryland was getting so many subscribers through the association of dating Shane. Then whenever they got engaged, you know, Ryland was gaining so much from this, as he should if he's dating one of the biggest YouTubers. And then Shane and Jeffrey started, you know, making their videos together, and Ryland went from being a side character to kind of like an extra, or like a background prop. And from that, you noticed his relevance started going a little bit, but that wasn't attributed. I don't think you can blame Shane for that, because if he was just introducing someone who was a lot more interesting, Jeffree Star, in this argument. Then Ryland started getting very obsessed with Jeffrey, and I remember seeing comments back in the day where people were finding it a bit weird how obsessed he was with Jeffrey, just because it was so much. So it's important to note that even months and months and months and you know, before it started really unraveling with the conspiracy launch and stuff, Ryland was getting called out for, you know, kind of being a lapdog to Jeffrey and being so obsessed with him and stuff. And that's also important to note. So Ryland then was kind of, you know, like the little prop in the videos. He wasn't that, you know, in them anymore. And whenever he was trying so hard to, like, get screen time, which is weird because it was his own fiance, or the person he was dating, and he was trying really hard. His jokes weren't funny. People started calling him out for being really materialistic. People started calling him out for being fake in the videos, and people just were not digging Ryland in the videos anymore, which is interesting because Ryland started being phased out of the videos during this time. So obviously he wasn't gaining that many subscribers during this time, or that many views, whatever, but I don't know, that was on him. I don't really know if Shane was controlling him being cringy and over the top in the videos to try to get airtime. I think that's kind of on him. So that's that. Then we move forward to the drama with Taddy. Now, whenever they all started getting exposed, Jeffrey and Shane and, you know, all these people, Ryland would always be very vocal. To the fact that whenever Taddy did her Breaking Her Silence video, Ryland went on a Twitter rant being like, "Don't try me, bitch," and like all this bullshit. And it's like, I have not have time for this. Like, Shane was the reason you sold out of your Halo Beauty, whatever, like this, whatever. Like, get on your, you know, first of all, talking down to a woman, which all these men with power seem to do. But the only power Ryland is a power bottom. It's too early for these jokes. It's too early for these jokes. So, wow. So, Ryland was always very vocal in the dramas, but near the end of it, people were not on his side, so him being vocal almost doubled down. And he was always vocal in dramas that were people calling out Shane, or people coming for Shane. So Shane is to attribute for that, because Ryland was then guilty by association, but then getting associated, and not acting properly, and people were not here for it. So that's important to note. Then we move on to, hello dog, hello. Then we move on to kind of like current day, with all the drama with Trisha, with you know, James, with Taddy, Shane, all of these people involved, and Jeffrey. Ryland comes off the most desperate, and I think it's his ultimate aim for attention and fame. I think with Shane Dawson, the difference is, I think Shane is money hungry. I do not think Shane Dawson is fame hungry. Jeffree Star, I think he's money hungry. I don't think he's fame hungry, because I feel like if Jeffree Star was fame hungry, he would do a lot more than what he does now, you know what I mean? And so if you compare that to like Ryland is so fame hungry in my opinion, and it's cringy to watch. Like, and whenever, like, I've even seen Shane Dawson fans who are like loving Ryland as well be like, Ryland, you need to tone it down a bit. So his association with Shane is like changing his like on-screen persona and personality. But in Shane's cancellation, Ryland has taken a very weird approach in that he, you know, kind of went silent for like a month, and then he started posting like clickbait videos that people would think he was talking about the Shane drama, but he wasn't. Which was a big turn off to people, because he was like using such a sensitive situation to get, you know, like almost as if he was getting an insight in what Shane is going to say, so people click to hear what Shane has to say because his title suggests that, and then it has nothing to do with that. It's just Ryland and his vanilla ass personality for like 15 minutes with like 10 mid-rolls. So that turned people off, and he started getting called out then as well, and that's attributed to Shane as well, because if we're aware, you know, it's Shane and Ryland work on Ryland's videos together, we're being told. Then Shane started being featured in Ryland's videos, which by association started ruining like whatever was left of Ryland's not only reputation but fan base. Like, his fans were getting upset that Shane wanted to address them on Ryland's channel and not Shane's channel, or they were like going around and, you know, being sneaky about it. And then the only respect that Ryland kind of had left from like the overall community were like, oh, so look what you're doing here. And so his reputation was going down and down and down and down. Then he started doing all these videos with Shane where Shane was, you know, heavily featured in it, and people were not liking it. He was deleting comments, people were not liking that, and it was like he was fighting this endless battle against the like wrath of Shane that he was not willing to address, but willing to milk for money and fame, because it all circles back to fame. Hear what I'm saying here? Hear what I'm saying? So, Ryland then, obviously these videos with Shane are not working out. So Ryland makes the SIP podcast, which is, podcasts are very popular right now, so, I mean, it was something that was inevitably going to happen anyway, because everyone has a fucking podcast these days. So, the SIP podcast, he has a co-host who he is so rude to. They're both unfunny. Both cannot hold an interesting conversation for the life of them, have horrible chemistry, boring topics, and it's a drama channel. They're literally a drama channel and a podcast, even though they've attacked drama channels so much in the past, and still in the current. Which again, was ruining his reputation even further, to the fact where people were just flat out not interested in not watching the podcast, which, like, what gain are you getting in that if people are just not watching your stuff anymore? And the views of the SIP were demonstrating this. Then the SIP started getting backlash, and they would talk about Jeffree Star, and people would start getting on Ryland's case for, you know, talking about Jeffree, and then he doubled down the next week by inviting Jeffree on as a guest. Which by this stage, people were so against Ryland because it was like a big FU to them. Then he had Shane on the podcast. He actually had him on before this, and because of the association, a conversation between Shane and Ryland on camera, people were not happy with Ryland for, you know, giving Shane this platform if he was not willing to use his own to address why he was being cancelled for being cancelled while on a break for being cancelled in the first place. So it all stems back to the association, but Ryland is willing to play into the association because it will get him views and money and fame. So it's a question of morals. However, it's interesting how Shane Dawson went from someone that was able to give Ryland Adams a career, give Ryland Adams the paycheck, give Ryland Adams subscribers, to someone where Ryland now being endorsed by Shane or endorsing Shane is the sole reason he's losing subscribers or not getting any views anymore, or, you know, and it's super interesting. And I think it kind of speaks for itself. They were not willing to hear what the audience had to say, to the fact where Ryland started disabling the comment section, you know, silencing their own fans, like the one people who actually cared about them. Then whenever the SIP was getting so much backlash, where Trisha was saying that she was upset that, you know, Ryland and Shane chose Jeffree over Trisha, their longtime friend of 14 years, again, Ryland's reputation went down the toilet even further because of Shane and his association. And now we know that Shane edits Ryland's podcast, allegedly. So it's like they're both working in this together, and the one person who was having the stable career still. Ryland now doesn't have that because they were too egotistical about it, in my opinion. And I think it's super interesting, and like within a 1 year period, Ryland went from getting views because of Shane to losing views because of Shane. And he didn't change his acting in any way. He actually got more intense with the Shane content when he knew people would click because they were angry he included Shane. Are we ready for the conversation? Because we just had it. And I think it's interesting, and I want to know whether you think Shane Dawson has ruined Ryland Adams' career, his reputation, his whatever, because I think moving forward with this, Ryland, like, being like, oh, I want to interview a celebrity. They're like, you're Shane Dawson's fiance? We saw the stuff with Willow Smith. We saw the stuff with the Smith family calling him out. We saw, you know... I don't know. I think it's super interesting, and for someone that has such a bland personality, he's always in drama. Like, with the people that are in drama, they have, like, some sort of a personality that keeps the drama going. Ryland doesn't, but the drama still keeps going. So, he's, you know, the anomaly. Oh my god, anomaly. I haven't used that word since my geography GCSE when I failed the exam. So, I want to know what your opinion is about it. I really appreciate you coming and spending the morning with me. It is now 8:41. I really appreciate it. Let me just quickly show you what the view looks like. So, I'm here. The park right here, and then in front of me right now, this was my view, which is why I was like kind of squinting. The sun is rising literally in front of me. There is a boat over there which needs to be removed from the water, but the owners like neglected it and like escaped because they didn't want to pay the money or something, allegedly. And the park just looks super cool. So I really appreciate you spending the time and hearing this conversation, and I'll make sure to read the comments. So please, I want to know what your opinion is on this. We'll talk about it below. I fuck with you, bestie. Bye.